Hello and welcome to the very first episode of When We Are Healed. I'm your host, Rieko Yamanaka. I'm a certified spiritual counselor and a creative professional, helping people live as their true divine self and share their gifts with the world. I'm feeling excited and terrified. Working on this podcast has brought up a lot of stuff for healing for me. Fear of rejection, perfectionism, imposter syndrome, self-censorship, wanting to be liked, wanting to get approval, you name it, all those came up. But I'm sitting here in front of the microphone in my closet, speaking to you now as a way of letting all that go and saying yes to that gentle nudge I've been feeling inside to just start sharing, just start reaching out. So here I am. In this episode, I'm going to give you an overview of this show and then share a little bit about myself and my journey and why I'm here. So this podcast, When We Are Healed, is going to be about all things spiritual healing. It's about seeing the challenges of life as opportunities to heal our mind and to remember who we truly are. I will be sharing what I've learned and I'm still learning by applying the teachings of love and oneness to my daily life. And I'll also be inviting guest speakers who are walking this path with you and me and asking them to share their experience, insights, and challenges on their journey. My prayer is that what we share here will bring you comfort and inspiration and help you connect to that inner peace and freedom that's always inside of you. So, what do I mean by spiritual healing? Because the word healing can mean different things to different people, right? And in this world, it's often used to refer to physical healing, the body's healing, which is a very deep and fascinating topic in and of itself. But in this show, I'm focusing on spiritual, psychological, and emotional healing, which to me is synonymous to spiritual awakening. It's what happens when something in us wakes up and says, I'm bigger than what I thought I was. I am not a victim of the world I'm seeing. I'm free. And I'm not alone. Something in us that's much, 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 much greater than the body. It sounds a little corny, but the power of love is what I would call it. And the title of this podcast was inspired by workbook lesson number 137 from A Course in Miracles. When I am healed, I am not healed alone. I love this phrase because it reminds us that healing doesn't happen in isolation. It's about joining. To heal means to make whole, and the whole you is way bigger than your body. Healing is not about becoming a better person or making your body healthier. It's about recognizing the greater, limitless part of you that's actually one with everyone and everything. And when I say that we are one, what does that mean, we are one? Well, to start on the physical level, you can say that we all live on this planet Earth together, in this universe together. We share the same space and resources, and everything affects each other, so we are one. But A Course in Miracles and other teachings of oneness and non-duality go much deeper and says that ultimately we're literally one. We're one mind. Our minds are joined. There is no separation between us of any kind. So when one of us experiences healing or expansion or realization of truth, it actually helps everyone do the same, even if we can't really see it or feel the effect. You could also think of this in terms of energy, right? Whenever your vibration rises, it helps the entire collective vibration rise along with you. Or that idea of the collective consciousness. We're all part of that. So I love thinking of healing as something that's very distinct from the self-help or self-improvement culture of constantly fixing our problems and bettering ourselves so we feel more worthy, or blaming ourselves for the struggles that we're going through, projecting that idea of everyone for themselves onto the process of healing and burdening ourselves to solve everything on our own, to figure out our life on our own. No, healing is about joining, and it's about reuniting with the parts of us that we had judged and denied and pushed away. It's about letting go of defenses and the barriers that we had put up and waking up to the fact that we are not alone, literally. So that's the idea, the philosophy, the inspiration behind this podcast. Next, I'd like to tell you a little more about myself and my journey so that you have the context for what I'll be sharing in this show. Again, my name is Rieko. I am spirit having a human experience, just like you. Rieko is spelled Rieko. I tell people that it rhymes with San Diego, and that seems to help. I am technically what they would describe as 1.5 generation Japanese American. That means I was born in Japan and moved here when I was young with my parents, and then became a naturalized citizen later on. It's funny to mention the word citizen on this show. And I'm here because spiritual freedom is my number one passion. And learning to see every challenge in my life as a gift and an invitation for healing has completely transformed my experience of life. And looking back, my journey, my life has been patiently teaching me to turn within for answers and happiness instead of grasping, looking for them out there in the world. In this society, we are conditioned to believe that happiness is something that we have to attain or achieve, that we need a healthy and attractive body, a beautiful home, a satisfying and lucrative career, and a perfect romantic partner, and all those things in order for us to be happy. And of course, there's nothing wrong with any of this, and they're all nice things to have. But everything in this world of form is temporary, it's ephemeral, it comes and goes. You can't take any of it with you when you transition. So if you base your happiness on any of these things, you're screwed. But who you really are is not what you own or what you accomplish, or not even your body or your personality. And the human experience is the journey of waking up to our true divine identity that is limitless and encompasses everything. So let me start at the very beginning of my life. I was born in Tokyo, Japan. When I was a baby, my family moved to the suburbs of Washington, D.C., and bounced back and forth between the US and Japan for the rest of my childhood. When people ask me where I'm from, I usually just say I'm from New York because that's where I've lived the longest. My childhood had its challenges. I mean, moving can be really tough, especially as a child. And each time my family moved, it was between completely different countries, cultures, languages, people. And at school, I was picked on by bullies. Pretty much every school I went to, there was some group of bullies to challenge me. They made fun of my hair color, skin color, teeth, face, body, physical capabilities. They try to make me do things just so they could make fun of me for doing that. And at home, I I was butting my head against is that the right expression? Butting heads with my parents who had uh, high expectations and traditional Japanese values that I really could not relate to. And so from a very young age, I lived with the feeling that something was wrong with me. And no matter where I went, I felt like I didn't belong there. And I tried really hard to fit in and be accepted. I learned to speak English. I read lots of books and studied hard. I found that I was pretty good at drawing and writing. So I did more of that. I got into gymnastics and dance and started to feel more physically capable. And by the time I moved to New York City for college, I felt like I was quote unquote fitting in for the most part, but it wasn't enough. Now I wanted to be great at something. I wanted to be special and successful. And that desire to prove myself pretty much drove my life for the next 20 years that I spent in New York City. In my 20s, I was pursuing a career as a professional dancer, and later in my 30s as a graphic and digital designer. I was fully immersed in that super competitive New York art scene, surrounded by people with the same ambition and hunger to prove themselves. And I had some amazing experiences and I had a lot of fun. And life on the outside seemed pretty nice, probably. But I struggled throughout those those 20 some years in New York with insecurity, body image issues, depression, anxiety, and some chronic health problems like joint pain and skin conditions. And these challenges led me to push myself even more to try to fix and improve myself. I I became a self-help junkie. I also went down the alternative medicine rabbit hole to try to heal my body. I really believe that if I could be healthier, more beautiful, more successful, more likable, then I would finally feel good about myself. But the more I tried, the more I felt empty and miserable inside. I was still suffering from that same belief that something was fundamentally wrong with me and that no matter what I did, I was never good enough. Maybe you can relate. And I also need to mention that I went through all of this despite discovering spirituality pretty early in life as a teenager. I started dabbling with A Course in Miracles in my mid 20s while I was still in the middle of my dance career. So I understood, at least intellectually, that my happiness can't come from the world where everything is impermanent. But that apparently did not stop me from continuing to look for fulfillment outside of myself. And I was even using spiritual concepts like law of attraction to try to manifest what I wanted. And what I wanted more than anything was a successful career and a perfectly healthy body, free of any chronic conditions. And what ended up happening was over the course of several years in my 30s, I tried to heal my body through diets and cleanses, and this completely backfired. My body and mind were in a worse shape than ever from all the restrictive regimens I put myself through. My body became emaciated, lost a lot of weight, lost my period, and I developed basically an eating disorder where I was scared to eat anything. It's called orthorexia, by the way. And all this is to say, this all served the purpose because it brought me down to my knees and finally made me realize that I could not do this anymore. I was so tired of trying to fix my body and failing. I was so tired of not feeling good enough. And I finally said, I am done seeking happiness in the world and not finding it. I knew that if I kept going in the same direction that I was going, I'll never get out of this internal hell that I was in. And I'll probably end up seriously hurting myself. So I made a choice that I was going to make spiritual practice my number one priority and that I was going to take responsibility for my thoughts and feelings and happiness. And that inner decision led me to my teacher, Jennifer Hadley, who taught me how to apply the teachings of A Course in Miracles to my daily life. And A Course in Miracles, in a nutshell, teaches you how to shift your belief system and identity from fear to love. And as I became seriously committed to releasing judgments about everything, about myself, my body, the people in my life, the world events, everything, and I started to really develop a relationship with my higher self, I began to experience really powerful shifts in pretty much every area of my life. And the biggest one is that for the first time in my life, I wasn't hating myself anymore. All those years of external seeking, all those years of trying to heal my body, all those years of trying to be a better dancer, designer, person, whatever. I was doing it from a place of total self hatred. I was judging myself for everything I did, every little move, every little quirk, every little mistake. I really believed I was never good enough and just hated myself for all of it. But that shifted when I practiced noticing and releasing every judgment that came up and doing my best to be kind and gentle with myself day in and day out. And all my relationships also shifted. I made a commitment to release judgments about everyone and leave no one out of my heart, to know that every single person, every single brother and sister who crosses my path was sent to me by God. And if they press my buttons, that's a gift. It's an invitation to respond with love and to affirm the truth that they deserve love no matter what. And they're actually one with me. They are me. We're just the same person, same spirit in different bodies. And when I practice seeing everyone that way, again, day in and day out, my heart started to open. And I could be more honest and vulnerable with the people in my life. I started to feel more at peace with the relationships that used to trigger me, and just much more comfortable in social situations and being around other people in general. And life started to bring me opportunities and blessings that I couldn't have imagined. I became certified as a spiritual counselor, and it brings so much joy to help fellow spiritual seekers and Course in Miracles students connect to their inner power and experience more love and freedom in their lives. I've since moved to Portland, Oregon, and started a creative studio as well, where I help my clients share their gifts with the world through design and translation services. And of course, I'm a work in progress. My healing journey continues. I still experience triggers, setbacks, challenges. I expand, I contract, I make a leap, I fall down flat on my face. That's the human experience, right? It can be a bumpy road, and let's face it, the healing journey is pretty messy. It's not that smooth upward trajectory that I used to think was how it's supposed to be. Uh, that just has not been the case in my experience. And that's exactly what I would love for us to sit with and explore and even celebrate in the conversations to come. My intention is to be as honest and vulnerable with you as I can. There's plenty of spiritual self help content out there giving you tips and advice that can be very helpful. But I'm also longing for a space where I'm free to talk about the things that I'm still wrestling with, or the things that I'm bumping up against that no one else seems to be talking about. And also to maybe look at subjects that can be considered controversial from a more loving and liberating perspective. And that is what I'd love to offer you through this podcast when we are healed. So, to close, I'd like to circle back and read you an excerpt from that workbook lesson from A Course in Miracles that I mentioned earlier. Workbook lesson 137. When I am healed, I am not healed alone. Paragraph 10, sentence 1 through 4. And as you let yourself be healed, you see all those around you, or who cross your mind, or whom you touch, or those who seem to have no contact with you, healed along with you. Perhaps you will not recognize them all, nor realize how great you're offering to all the world when you let healing come to you. But you are never healed alone. And legions upon legions will receive the gift that you receive when you are healed. Let's breathe this in. What this is saying to me is that no matter who you are or what you're going through, you're never alone. You absolutely matter. And you're actually powerful beyond measure. Your life, your journey, your healing is an integral and indispensable thread in the glorious tapestry of collective healing. Our journeys are intertwined. When you are healed, I am healed with you, and so is everyone else on the whole planet and the entire universe of time and space. Isn't that pretty amazing? So today, I'll leave you with a prayer from my heart to yours. Join me in closing your eyes if it's safe to do so. May your journey of healing and awakening unfold with ease and grace. May all blocks to your awareness and experience of true happiness and freedom be gently released at a pace that's perfect for you. May you see, feel, and know your unconditional worthiness, your magnificent beauty, and your holiness. I am grateful to remember that I am one with you, one in love, one in God, and so it is. If you enjoyed this episode, I invite you to come check out our Substack at whenwearehealed.com, where you can subscribe to keep in touch and get show notes emailed to you. Sending you lots of love, and I'll see you in the next episode.